This video is about drones. More specifically, it's about drone parts. What is each part inside of a drone and what's its function to make the drone fly? Be sure to watch till the end of this video. Hi, my name is Praneeth and welcome to my channel Everyday Space. In today's video, we're going to be talking about drone parts. What does each individual part do inside of a drone and what's its function to make the drone fly? We are going to explore that in today's video. If you've seen my past video, then you would know that I explained what each drone part is on a diagram and showed how a basic drone works. So if you haven't seen that already, be sure to check that out. So in the last video, I said that I would buy the parts and explain what actual hardware it is. But instead of buying drone parts for this video, I just dismantled an old drone that I have to recover the circuitry inside of it. Some parts are different and it doesn't have some parts, but I'm sure you'll get a basic understanding of what drone circuitry is and how it functions. So let's get into the video. So these are the drone parts that I got from disassembling an old drone that I got. So now I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what the drone parts I have. So as you might know, this is the remote control. We actually use the remote control to actually control the drone when it's flying. One is generally used for the throttle of how fast the fans are spinning, and one is used for the direction at which the drone is going to fly. There are a few other options, but those are just extra and not all drones even have them. So this is the basic of what a remote control is. Next we have a camera. As many of you know, a camera is just what takes photos and videos. There are many different types of cameras inside of drones. Some very high-end ones are generally much bigger, but this is just a basic one of what you might find in a small toy drone. Now this is a battery. This, as you may see, looks much different than the batteries that we are generally used to. Because drone batteries have to be much lightweight and very high efficient, because the drone needs to fly long and it takes a lot of energy to do so. That is why the batteries generally look a bit different than the circular batteries that we're used to. So now these are two of the 4 propellers that I got on the drone. These propellers, as you may see, are actually different in shape. This is because one has to turn clockwise and one has to turn anti-clockwise. So that is why there are 2 different shapes of the propellers. And this is the main circuitry of the drone. This is what actually controls the drone, what actually makes the drone fly, and some additional stuff as well. So now let's start with the most important part of the drone circuitry. That is the flight controller. The flight controller is basically like the brain of a drone. It gives orders and tells every part of the drone what to do. It also receives signals from the remote control and then sends it out to the motors. It also tells when the LEDs are supposed to light on, when the camera is supposed to take photos, and when to take videos. It also has many different instruments on board to measure the altitude, how fast it's going, and sometimes even has GPS enabled on it. There are many different flight controllers, and like with the battery, generally the more advanced ones tend to be a bit bigger and are used for much larger and advanced drones. So now the next important part is obviously the battery. Like I said, the battery is what actually powers the drone. And the battery generally connects to the flight controller using a cable and like a connector, because this cannot directly connect to the flight controller. So if we just put that in there, and now it attaches. Now the drone can actually fly and have power because we attached the battery using the connector. Now next up, because now the drone has a battery and everything, how is it actually going to move? Because like I said before, the remote control is actually what gives the instructions, and it's going to be what's in our hand to actually move the drone. And to receive instructions from the remote control, every drone needs to have a receiver on board. A receiver is basically what gets information from the remote control, and it generally comes with the remote control if you buy one separately. But because this is a toy drone and they are usually custom built, the receiver is right embedded into the flight controller. And this is the antenna that receives signals from the remote control. Generally, you would have an antenna that's separate to the flight controller, and then the flight controller would attach to the receiver. But because, like I said, this is a toy drone and it's custom made for the company, the receiver is built into the flight controller. Next, we have the camera. Not all drones have this, but these days many drones have it to take photography, navigate through many different places, and even for drone racing. This is just a simple camera. It is not too advanced or too special, but it is just a simple camera that many drones come with. The camera right here is able to take photos and sometimes even videos. Now cameras are being used on drones now a lot because of many movie makers and other projects. So this camera attaches to this small board right here, which then sends the signal to the flight controller to process. The camera also receives power from this connection, from the battery, which the flight controller is connected to. And then next to the place where we connect our camera, we have a switch. It basically just turns on all the flight controller. Because we're not actually using the remote control, the motors aren't spinning, but as you can see, the LEDs are actually turning on and off. Next, we have what makes the drone actually fly, the motors. Now these are called brushed or coreless motors. They are generally what you find inside of small toy drones. It is because they are relatively cheap and quite easy and powerful enough. They also don't use a lot of power, which is good because the batteries on small drones are usually small in the first place. So these do not have a long lifetime and they will easily just burn out. That is why when you're building your own drone, it is best to use brushless motors. They tend to be a bit more expensive, but in the long run, they are much better and more powerful. Now these motors, generally they spin extremely fast, especially these ones. And so that is why we have a gearbox inside of a drone. Now the gearbox is generally inside of the drone frame, and basically what it does is it slows down this turning, and then the propellers are able to attach to the gearbox, and that is what makes the propellers turn. Again, with brushless motors, you don't need that gearbox because brushless motors are a lot more advanced and more precise with how fast they spin. And these aren't really necessary and they only come on toy drones, but if you want, these are just LEDs. They add the look to your drone and often make it easier to spot in nighttime. So these are the basic drone parts and what's their main function in a drone. So thanks for watching this video. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. So in the upcoming weeks, I'm actually going to try and build a new drone using new 3D printed parts and the existing drone parts. I will see if I can actually make a fly and if it's possible in the first place. After that, I'm actually planning to do a much larger drone project which will be fully autonomous and can even carry a payload of 1 to 2 kilograms. So be sure to check that out in the upcoming months where we may start the project. So thank you for watching this video.